And we are live. What is up, everybody? Aaron the dog back one more time for the season here of 2025 Contender Series, which I'll go ahead and say it's been a rousing success from a betting perspective, from a breakdown perspective, and the main reason for that being a success, the best in the game in the regional scene and Contender Series game. That's Lucky Locks, Mr. Modest himself down there. We're coming to you in the daylight today, getting out early. What's going on?
Not too much, man. This is the last one. We've made it to the very end. They said
Yes.
we couldn't do it, but we did. And yeah, no, it's been a good one. I mean, last week obviously was a good week. I've through 9 weeks, I've been on 7 of the cards, and yeah, 6-1 on bets so far, 81% ROI. So not
Yep.
much to complain about, man. The only loss was the little point 0.3 unit play on Darian Abbey. Never forget.
Yes. We both
He
lost
went
some
out,
days.
and you know what? He went out and did exactly what I wanted him to do. Didn't work. We
Oh,
moved. So
yep.
yeah, but there's a couple of fun fights on here. There's one spot that I like as well. So hopefully we can get one more win to end the season here.
Yeah, they're trying to tempt me into a couple spots on the last card. I think they're trying to tempt a lot of people. Like these are the most competitive lines of the season. You get 6 fights now. Sure, make it 6 fights. Why not? There's just so many great contenders that we're having. The return of Wes Schultz himself. Party time. He's back after surviving 2 rounds with Mansour Abdul Malik, as we said on the program we were talking about before. He went out and submitted a 7-4 fighter, Dustin Pape. Pape. I'm not familiar with Dustin Pape. Maybe you are. I don't know. But it's earned him his way back here. Why not? He's facing Mario Minjaj. Mario likes to triangle. That's pretty much all I've seen out of Mario so far. He clinches, lets his opponent take him down. At least I hope he lets his opponent take him down. Otherwise, his takedown defense is that of we haven't seen since like Carol Rosa. Honestly, so Minja, he could submit Wes Schultz from the bottom. Like, what are we doing here, though? I think Wes Schultz is good enough to avoid the full guard triangles of Mario. But I'll say, as Mario's used to fighting a lot bigger of opponents, yeah, he's also much bigger, looks in the better shape of the two guys here. Mario's never fought over in the States. I don't like that at all. I could definitely see him like in the clinch just throwing a random knee up and it catching Wes Schultz in just the wrong spot. And it just wouldn't shock me for him to put him out that way. But usually I feel like 6.5 out of 10 times Wes Schultz comes on, just out grapples and out, wrestles him, maybe ends up getting a submission towards the end of the fight, but no interest in chalk Wes Schultz, but I can't find a way to bet Mario either unless it's just catching the triangle for the 5th time. His triangles are nice, but it's Euro trash. So, Lucky, what's your thoughts on this opener? The return of Wes Schultz.
Yeah, I mean, this is the long-awaited return of Wes Schultz. We had to get him back.
Yes.
Big name prospect. No, but I mean, I pretty much agree with you here, man. Mario, he's a 7-0 Italian fighter, and he's fought on Venator, and he's been on Cage Warriors twice now, and he's a good grappler. You said it, he's like a triangle specialist.
Yeah.
Very elementary on the feet. The jab is all right. And he doesn't mind testing the waters with some kicks because, obviously he's okay to be on his back. Not really a great athlete, in my opinion, not really a great wrestler either. Wes Schultz is a guy that, I think everybody is pretty familiar with by now. He's a classic LFA guy. We've seen him on Contender Series before. He's got 2 losses. It's Dylan Budka, Mansour Abdul Malik. 2 guys that at the very least have reached the UFC. Schultz definitely has shortcomings, but yeah, I mean, Mingaj to me is I think just a submission grappler, really. I think
Mhm.
Schultz is the better wrestler. I think he has decent grappling in his own right. And the guys that he loses to, right, Budka and Mansour are very physical guys.
Right.
And Mario is not that. So yeah, I think Schultz will be a little bit better on the feet, and I think his ground game will be effective. He's never been submitted. I don't really see him being subbed if he's in top position. So, I mean, you basically said it perfectly. Do I want to bet Schultz as a favorite? No, I don't. Do I think he's going to win? Yeah, I do. I was kind of hoping he would be the dog, but people I think were kind of hip to it just by the Tapology votes. I thought maybe there was some hype
Yeah,
behind
no,
the
I
article, but
mean, and
I guess not.
I don't like going back to 2017 amateur fights, but this guy faced Gabriel Bartoni. He lost to him twice as an amateur by decision. And then that guy goes on and gets triangled in the next fight by Anton Turkali. So, like, Turkali probably beats Wes Schultz, like, handily, let's be honest. So, like, really handily. So maybe Mario could get I don't know. Anton Turkali beats both these guys, like, handily. So that's what we're working with here. So let's move on. Minus 180 for Wes Schultz here, plus 140. People are going to parlay up Wes Schultz. Don't do it. Like, seriously, proceed with caution. If you do, you deserve to lose your money. All right, next fight. This is a heavyweight fight where I personally think one or both of these guys is probably on drugs of the performance-enhancing variety. The guy from Uzbekistan 100% would piss through a cup right now, like molten lava. Like, you see him weighing in today, Azamat Nurtafayev, taking on Jovan Luka here. Azamat here, or Lika, Jovan Lika. With Azamat, I mean, he's in the best shape I've ever seen him in. His jaw is like chiseled. He has a six-pack now. One of his big kind of question marks for me, first of all, being 17-1-1 and being on the Contender Series, that's a question mark. Like, you're not getting signed. Like, what's going on? You're 32 years old, like 31. What's going on? They're signing guys with 4-0, 5-0, 5-1. Snack Panther, rest in peace. Yeah, I think he woke up now. But with Azamat, he looks like he's on performance-enhancing drugs. He's weighing in at a crisp 234 pounds. I think he's got some EPO going on here as well. And then what I thought with Lika was he was going to be the more athletic, fleet of foot, like the better athlete at heavyweight, which means he can move a little bit and he can strike. He doesn't really have much of a ground game that I've been able to see, but then he shows up. He looks like shit. He's weighing at like 259, looking very soft in my opinion. But he's like much bigger than his opponent, which I wasn't expecting. I don't really know what to think about this fight, if I'm being honest. I'll take the Uzbekistan fighter because he's BMF. He's a better MMA fighter. I think he can take this more spots, probably can wear out Lika on the ground. If it's on the feet, I think Jovan can wear out Azamat. So who takes the fight where? I'll take Azamat. No interest in betting it just because all these extra kind of curriculars are confusing me quite a bit with this fight. Like, I get that Azamat's fought in the bigger promotions, the better level of competition as well, but I don't know. Who the fuck knows? Lucky.
Yeah. Nurtafayev, Uzbek fighter. He's been champ in two of kind of the premier shows in Kazakhstan, which are Alash Pride, and then the Kazakh Octagon with a C. And his one loss is to Slim Trabelsi, and that's really not a terrible loss in the context of this matchup. Nurtafayev, I thought he had pretty decent low kicks. I think his wrestling's pretty good, top control pretty good. I was expecting a little bit more from him, to be honest with you. He was a little more rudimentary than what I was expecting. And the Slim Trabelsi loss, just based on what I saw, makes sense seeing his skill set, right? He's got a great heavyweight skill set against low level guys, meaning he's reasonably athletic. He gets guys on the ground. But yeah, against guys that are a little bit better, somebody like Slim Trabelsi, I can see how, he'd struggle. Not that Slim Trabelsi is an unbelievable fighter, but he's
I know exactly what you're saying.
Yes. Leka on the other side, he's a young guy from Serbia. He's still very young. He's big. 6'5" is what they listed him as on Tapology. And I didn't check the official UFC measurements. I assume those are up now on UFC stats, but that 6'5" checks out from.
Yeah, he looked
from
way bigger at the face-off.
Yep. He's been fighting in this like Armada promotion, which I wasn't too familiar with. When I think of Balkan MMA, usually I'm thinking about FNC. But I wasn't really wowed by this guy either. He's definitely a confident striker on the feet. He's a little bit more flowy than Nurtafayev is, I would say. But Yeah, I mean, you took the words right out of my mouth. I think Niftalyov is the better MMA fighter right now. And I was kind of expecting he was going to be like minus 400 just because of how he looks on paper. And then it's
Right.
like, but I mean, I think the line is decently accurate. I'd make him a short favorite here. I am going to pick him to win, but yeah, I'm not interested in betting him.
Yeah, minus 140, plus 110 to Jovan's side. Jovan being 23 years old, like eight-year difference here, which is like super rare, I feel like, for the Contender Series, but only at heavyweight. Yeah, I don't have any interest in betting Asmat just because I expected him, because he was from Uzbekistan and had a 17-1-1 record, to have a better. They're not going to get me with it. Feels like a trap. Maybe it's not. So for the people who are going to just pair these first two favorites together to get a decent plus money, I think you're going to be holding on to that ticket pretty tight through those first two fights, but probably goes through the goalpost. I just would not recommend it at all. But what do I know? I don't give gambling advice. Next fight, 170. I think this fight is a really entertaining fight. I think this is going to be one of the best fights of the night. Michael Oliveira finally makes his he was going to be on the Contender Series. It's just a matter of when with the LFA fights. Like, I get it. He's taking a little bit longer in these fights than he should, and he's having Kyle Brahalo yell for the entire fight about how amazing Michael Oliveira is with every movement. Like, there is a huge amount of glaze Oliveira to where I was like ready to come into this fight and be like, this little 5'9" Victor Valenzuela guy, he's going to take it to him, man. He's going to be. I can't do it, man. I'm sorry. Victor Valenzuela is a good brawler. That last fight was really impressive against, what's his name? Bruce Whitehead. I think it was Fury, where he just kind of went in there and went to war for like 90 seconds and landed a absolute killer knee, deaded him. You know how I love the deaded, KOs where they killed the guy? Neiman and Santana, I'll bet him again when he gets on the Contender Series again after he clears up those headbutt issues. But Valenzuela, he's not exactly that. Like, he's a very good, well-balanced, brawler. He really is. Like, and I don't mean that in a bad way necessarily. He's, fought on a few, good. I believe he's been on Combate. He's been over with LFA. He's been with Fury. So he's been around for sure. He's definitely, I think, in a position with Michael Oliveira where he's got a willing dance partner to go to war with. I just think I'd be very surprised if he's able to kind of end up withstanding the firefight against Oliveira long enough to get into the gas tank. I know Oliveira's had some later finishes here, which I think is going to be held against him a little bit. The Dallas Gama fight and other fights, he's going to the decision. I don't know. I think he comes out here and they go into a phone booth. I think Valenzuela gets hurt before he hurts him. So I think Oliveira here to get a finish sometime in this fight. But, if it gets extended, I'd be interested to see the later rounds and how Oliveira responds to kind of a guy who stays in his face like Victor might do. So it's an interesting fight, but I like Oliveira. No bet from me as of now, just because the KO is probably his money line price.
Yeah, it's a cool fight. And you did name drop Nemia Santana there in your breakdown, and I thought it would be nice to inform you that he's got a fight booked in Canada for the middleweight championship in Samurai MMA in
Sign me
Quebec
up. Sign me up.
against
I'll be there.
Julian LeBlanc. So
Wonderful.
you can watch that one next month if you're interested.
Can't wait. Neiman Santana channel, by the way.
But yeah, back to this fight. Oliveira, I think he's a really good fighter. I like him 8-0, former LFA fighter of the year. Pretty solid camp behind him. And, he's very calm in the pocket, tries to get into that flow state. And you mentioned he sometimes takes a little bit longer than perhaps he needs to. But, I still like his game. He'll punctuate attacks by chopping at the legs. And he does like to avoid shots with head movement, and his head movement is good. But the odd time he does get cracked. But he's got fast hands and he makes guys pay. Not really a high output guy, as we both have kind of alluded to implicitly and explicitly here. Valenzuela is Chilean. I believe he's at MMA Masters in Florida. You kind of mentioned he's been around Combate, LFA, Fury. Pretty decent, bit of a tank. I don't have a ton to say about this matchup. I just think he's a little bit too basic, and I think that Oliveira is going to be able to sting him here. So yeah, Michael Oliveira is the side that I'm going to pick here.
Yeah, no, I was trying to find a way to get to the Victor side as well, just because like when Oliveira was announced on the Contender Series, I've been that person who's like he like won LFA Fighter of the Year by fighting. Like he didn't exactly earn it, and like he is like one of those LFA guys who like I think was, but I just think it's a physical difference here. Looking at the face-offs, it looked like a middleweight against a welterweight. And Oliveira's got a surprising gas tank for his physique. So next fight, 145, very random fight, very weird fight. Not a fight I have a whole lot to say about, honestly. I like Marwan Rahiki from what I've seen. Freaky Rahiki, I'm not going to lie, I wasn't too familiar with him before diving in, but I like what I saw. He seems like a pretty competent striker, has a good variety on the feet. Young at 23 years old, 5'10", but very long 5'10" fighter here. His opponent, African BJJ specialist at 9-2. The 27-year-old Malumba here, Anias Malumba. I just think this is one where I just think Marwan has a lot more potential to his game. I think Malumba is going to have to get this to the ground and control it. He has some full mount, ground and pound finishes, things that are just low level African MMA type of finishes. He was on Brave for one fight. Here's Moise with his contribution. Daylight come and me want to go home because the African BJJ not going to be enough here. Rahiki gets it done here. I think Rahiki most likely would KO him, but I am interested in the submission number here because, Marwan's got them fish pools, and I think he's going to be a lot of positions where he can possibly get some chokes off. But either way, I like Rahiki here quite a bit. But again, the price is not one I'm interested in, minus 240. Biggest favorite on the card.
Yeah, Rahiki, he was a high-level amateur fighter, undefeated as a professional, and he fought basically everywhere in Australia, champion in Hex and Beatdown, all finishes on his pro record, and he's got a little bit of flash as well. He throws very hard. I'd like to see a little bit more, kind of straight shots, but he really likes those hooks, and he can find the chin with those. He's got a decent straight left, though when he does go to it. Malumba has been on UAE Warriors Brave, on the AKO African Knockout promotion. I think Kamaru Usman is affiliated with that, maybe. I'm not sure. Yeah. Maybe that's a different one. But he's a good athlete and he seems relatively well-rounded. I think Rahiki is the better striker, but Malumba has good physicality, and I know that Rahiki does have a few submissions. I didn't really love his grappling. I do think that there are maybe some grappling sequences that Malumba would be able to hold him down. And I also think Rahiki has shown a few times where he tries to kind of force his way back to the feet and sometimes will show his back. And, we've seen Malumba capitalize on those positions a few times. He's got a lot of rear naked chokes. But those are really the only concerns. And I think those are relatively minor. I think primarily we're going to see striking here. I think Rahiki is just a little bit better in that regard. But yeah, I think the price is a little bit, prohibitive at minus 240.
Yeah, minus 240, biggest favorite. I'm pretty surprised, but yeah, so far I've gone all chalk on this card. So I do have some dogs, and I did bet a dog. So who could it be? We are waiting. We're two fights from the end of the season here. Next fight: Juan Diaz versus Juan Vidal. Pretty boy out of ONE FC, where he was decimated to the body twice by Fabricio Andrade. The first time he literally yelled out in excruciating pain as Andrade landed a liver kick. This is a weird fight. It's at bantamweight. Juan looked very sucked out at weigh-ins. His eyes were very wide and dilated. There's no hydration test here, the great ONE FC and their hydration tests. And Juan Diaz is just a kind of classic Peruvian fighter at this point. It's the cardio, he mixes it up well, and absolutely no KO power. Like it's almost identical to every Peruvian fighter that seems to make it onto the Contender Series. And there's been some that made it beyond and then had no success for the most part in the UFC, but they made it to the UFC. It's with I like Juan Quan here. I got him at plus money a couple days ago. He's now approaching minus 110. It's a pick 'em at this point. I think that the level of competition he's faced is incredibly higher. The Artem Belloc win especially is a good one. The Fabricio Andrade ones I'm going to conveniently look the other way on because they happened early, and it's Fabricio Andrade, and I'm going to turn him into an absolute world beater here. Why not? It's not great. Another thing with Juan is he's got that tall man defense. He backs up with his head straight up. I think he can get away with that with Juan Diaz, but Juan Diaz is good. He's 14-1-1. He's well-rounded. He's been, beating a not like amazing level of competition, but he's doing what he has to do. I've gotten to see a few of his fights. I don't like how he is taking as long as he is with guys like that Jose Rorara guy. It just looked like a guy who was waiting to be finished, and it still took him as long as it did. Juan Quan here for me, and I think he knocks out Juan Diaz. So Juan versus one. Give me one.
Yeah, Diaz out of Peru. He's in Mexico now at the Entrim Gym, I believe. He's the champion in Lux. His one loss was back in 2021 to Rodrigo Vera. And if you don't know who that is, I'm sorry to say you just don't know Peruvian MMA, okay? Because he is
the GOAT,
a titan, a stalwart of the Peruvian scene. And he has a great record as well, actually. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you mentioned it. Diaz is a very classic Peruvian style fighter. He's a gritty boxer. He's got nice hands. He's very game. He's tough. He's opportunistic with his submission attempts as well. I don't think he's a really fantastic grappler, but he just doesn't let you off the hook ever. He's dotting you up with volume on the feet. You leave your neck out there, he'll go for it. If he doesn't get it, he's just back to boxing again. He's up against a guy here in Quan who isn't a great grappler, in my opinion. Quan is a 1FC guy. He fought over there for forever, for a long time. He's had kind of a big following there. He's a knockout artist. He's a really fun fighter. Kind of went up and down a little bit there, but, he has been ranked very highly in the one rankings. He wasn't just like a random nobody over there. He was a real player. And I think in, pure technique and diversity of attacks, I think Quan, probably has the edge on Diaz. But me personally, I don't like the matchup for Quan here. I like Diaz, and I think Diaz is going to come forward and crowd him, and just kind of suffocate him with, boxing pressure and maybe mixing a little bit of grappling when the opportunity presents itself. So it's my last bet of the season. I'm betting Juan Diaz. I got him at plus 125. So that's what I have.
Nice. Yeah. I hate to be on the other side but we're both at least at plus money. So I got Juan 2 days ago at plus 120. So now he's minus 110. So best of luck. Head to head with Lucky. I'm not going to lie. I would go with Lucky's side if I were me, but I'm not going to. I've won a couple of these before. I'm sure I have. So it's all good. It's going to be a good fight. Very interested to see how he responds to the weight cut here as well at 135. So, all right, we've made it to the main event of the entire season. This whole season has been made around Freddy Vidal, everybody. He beat Frankie Franco, or whatever the hell that Brazilian dude's name was, Felipe Franco. This guy who's 8-0 and for some reason was a minus 500 favorite. But either way, Freddy Vidal came in on very short notice, missed weight by 5 pounds, and then beat his opponent, getting a rear naked choke with like 12 seconds left in the round. So Dana White said, your reward is to cut weight again in 6 weeks and come back on the show after killing yourself. And giving him the baby monster and Levi Rodriguez. It's a pretty fun fight to end the season, I hope. Honestly, Freddy Vidal looked great at the weigh-ins. He looks like he's been taking his discipline and dieting and being a light heavyweight very seriously. Still very young in his career, and it just seems like he's getting more and more comfortable by the fight. And another thing that I like in this matchup is he's been here before 6 weeks ago. I know, we just said that it's obvious, but that's a huge, advantage to me. Going through the entire process, being more comfortable in the apex, everything that goes along with it. And then Levi Rodriguez, to me, he's been fine with the LFA. He's going in there and just kind of throwing down until his opponents go down. He doesn't have a ton of technique that I'm seeing here. He's just kind of a Brazilian bopper who I think if he gets, into the grappling, which Vidal is going to introduce, I think early and often, I think he could kind of get worn out and end up in a spot in the first or second round where he's exposing his back, exposing his neck, trying to just brute his way up to get back to where he can punch, bang, bang. And I could see Vidal getting another rear naked choke here, honestly. I mean, I know he had no submissions until his last fight, but I just see how this fight goes is a lot of grappling, a lot of exhaustion, the cardio, and frustration from Levi eventually trying to get up and hit him. So I got Vidal at plus 120. I'm ending the season with 2 plus 120 Contender Series dog bets. I got Freddy Vidal.
Yeah, I mean, Vidal, we already saw this season, beat Felipe Franco as a big underdog. He missed weight horribly there, but it was on very short notice, of course. Didn't miss weight this time and looked good. So, I think all things considered, that was a pretty good win. Felipe Franco, was he the greatest guy we've ever seen? No, but it's an 8-0 guy against, he didn't really fight very many people to get to 8-0, but
No.
He's like a legit kind of Brazilian regional scene guy. Yeah, Vidal, I mean, he's got a little bit of grappling, a little bit slow, kind of lumbering, but he's got some decent kicks in his arsenal. Not really a ton of like dynamism on the feet. But he has like a solid game. And Rodriguez is a guy we've seen on LFA, had an extensive amateur career. I think he has a connection to Jean Matsumoto as well. Definitely has more explosivity than Vidal, got some real power in his hands and some aggression that I don't really see with Freddy Vidal. But going into this matchup, I was really just expecting I was gonna like Rodriguez, but I don't know, man. He's just not really super clean, and it kind of seems like Vidal can get his game off here. When I'm looking at it, and Freddy Vidal's not really a guy I'm like super high on or anything, but yeah, I think he can get his game off if this doesn't end in the first round. And I could see Vidal wearing on him, getting in the clinch, making it dirty, etc. And yeah, dog price. I think Vidal is the side as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm quite surprised, but yeah, I feel pretty comfortable with this play here, and I'm surprised he's the dog side after watching. He's fine, like you said. I just think that he's very game plannable. And Freddy Vidal, I just like the one thing I wanted to see. I hate to be a weigh-in capper, but I did want to see what he looked at like at weigh-ins. I wanted to see if it looked like he had actually been disciplined for 6 weeks or if he just kind of coursed it again to just get down to 205 and he's clearly been preparing the entire time. And then you look at Levi Rodriguez and he looked kind of soft to me. Like he didn't look he never looks in like a specimen, but it's just like I think there's going to be a significant cardio and adrenaline dump for Levi if he's not able to put him away in the first round, especially. So overall, really, it's an entertaining final card here, and it's been a very entertaining and profitable season for both of us. We're in agreement on Wes Schultz. We're both on Azamat here, but who the fuck knows? Michael Oliveira for both of us. Rahiki, Juan Diaz, and Juan Kwan is our disagreement. Juan Diaz for Lucky, and then Vidal for both of us. So, any other final thoughts before we take off till we're back with some other random regional? Probably the Contender Series is the next time we'll be back, but I'll see if I'll consider some other things down the line. But no main UFC show is coming back anytime soon. So, sorry, Lucky.
All good, man. I don't have too much to plug. It was a fun season. I had been out of the game for a little while, and it was nice to chop it up this season and talk about some of these fights. I enjoyed it a little more than I was expecting to, which was good. And it's been fun, man. So thanks for having me on, and you guys know where you can find me. My Twitter handle is just right there at Lucky Locks Picks, and that's the only thing I have to plug.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, man. I've had a great time as well. It's been way more profitable than I expected, to be honest with you. And Also, I just appreciate everybody who's checked out these breakdowns. Like, I don't advertise them at all. My thumbnails are random as fuck. Like, who cares? If you're here, like, you care about actual fight breakdowns, you care about making money or whatever. Like, whatever reason you're here, you're a real one. So I appreciate everybody in the chat. Action Jackson, Moist Audio, Stubborn Mick, 2 Cents, whoever else was in the chat today. Appreciate you all. And mostly appreciate Lucky Locks because we go way back, and I got nothing but the utmost respect for his game here. So I feel terrible about Juan Kwan's chances tomorrow night. We're kind of fucked, but oh well. And there's 2 Cents at the end there, but appreciate it. I'll be back with some regional MMA down the line. Keep on the notifications, and that's how you'll know. Peace out, everybody.